I want to talk to you guys about the differences between 6 and 7 figure people, but also some differences between 6 and 7 figure problems. Why am I doing this video? Because a lot of you guys, a long time ago, about a year ago actually, I did the video called Why You're Attracting Broke People on the Phone. And my explanation of it was very, 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 very simple. I said, you're attracting broke people on the phone because all of your marketing is solving broke people problems. And that video basically went viral. We had like thousands and thousands and thousands on an organic video. Like literally, I think it hit like 10,000 people to watch that video. It was amazing. And so a lot of people were reaching out to me all the time, like, Juliet, I'm attracting broke people on the phone, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, some people try to rip it off. And they try to do their spin on the video. This is not as good as my spin. And so I want to do a kind of like updated version of that, because a lot of you guys know, I need to ditch that. Anyways, a lot of you guys know that what we do now is much different. So we used to have a coaching course, which helped coaches, and it was wildly successful, made millions of dollars, it helped thousands of people. It was really, really good. Lots of people got great results from it. Oh, hello. If isn't my favorite Spaniard, and my favorite Ariel on today. So what the fuck was I saying? Oh, as you guys know, we kind of switched. So over the last year, 8 months or so, what we've been doing is working on really large projects, consulting projects, where instead of teaching people what to do, we kind of come in, we take over departments. And what we do is not exclusive just to the marketing. It's also relevant to the sales department, also the structure of the business, and even investment strategy. And the reason why we're doing these projects with companies is so that we can take them, whether it's like a couple $1 million a year, all the way up to the point where they can sell their company for like 20, 30 million or more per year, sell it, right? And those are the types of companies that we want to look for. People that are looking for an out, that want to sell, that want a massive payout, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, but they need to achieve some sort of like rapid growth. You are very sexy. Can you believe someone just interrupted to say that? So rude. Anyways, what these people are looking for is some sort of rapid or hyper growth in the next couple of years. And the reason why is because ultimately they want to sell. Now, in doing that, I have learned a couple of things, which is that the way that 6-figure people think is very different than the way 7-figure people think. And I'm not going to imply that if you're at 6 figures, you're broke, because you're not necessarily. But you just think differently. And also the problems that your business faces at 6 figures is going to be a lot different than the problems that your business faces at, let's say, 7 figures, okay? So with that, you guys, here's how it works. One of the coolest things that I see difference between 6 and 7 figure people, and I'm kind of generalizing here, and not everybody's going to fit the mold. Some asshole's going to raise it and be like, that's not me. Okay, I'm generalizing, of course. But what's really cool is that people at 6 figures, they typically are more about the money, and they're more in it for themselves, right? They're more like, I fucking want a laptop lifestyle, I want to travel, I want to this, that, or whatever else, right? So they have like kind of these monetary goals. They're in it for the money, they're in it for the lifestyle, or that's at least where they got started. And that's what's fueling them, is this concept of like, I want to achieve X, Y, Z. I want to make this much money. I want this lifestyle, those sorts of things. And 6-figure people definitely tend to have more of an ego. This is a trend in almost everybody. Somebody's going to raise their hand. They're going to be like, I don't have an ego. You have an ego. I have an ego. And it's definitely the most expensive possession that I own. It is my own ego. They tend to have a little bit more of an ego in the sense that they're like, I can get there. Once you start making like, let's say $30,000 a month, you kind of get to the place where you're like, I can do it myself. I'm making $30K. And it's a lot of money. $30,000 a month cash. You can do basically a lot with that. I won't say you can do anything, but just about anything with $30K cash a month. Like yeah. So once you start to get to that space, you kind of get a little bit more of an ego. And you kind of get wrapped up in the fun and the party. You go through all of these emotions, right? You're still on this emotional roller coaster. You're like, oh my God, this is the most money I've ever made. This is fun. This is exciting, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like new money, right? Like you're not used to making this type of money. It's like someone that just won the lottery. You worked for it is the only difference, but it's like someone that just won the lottery. They have like this big, attitude and like just excitement and all these emotions about it. And what I realized is as people start to transition to 7 figures, things start to calm down. Like they're a lot more even keeled. They're not as excited about deals, which is not to say that that's good or bad. This is like a trend. They're not quite as like up and down emotional. And they really start to think more long term. So they're starting to think about like, man, what the fuck am I going to do with this company? Because I don't want to be doing these live videos every single day for the next 20 fucking years. Like wrinkles, hello, you know what I'm saying? So as people start to transition to 7 figures, they really start thinking long term, like, am I going to sell this? What am I going to do here? How can I get this to make money without me? Those sorts of things. And it's a very different mindset because when you're at 6 figures, you're not typically like, I'm going to sell my company. You're probably not thinking about how you're going to make money if you travel the world or if you got sick. You're probably not thinking about whether or not you want to do this exact thing for the next 10 years. You're just like, man, I'm happy to do this and keep growing it. And you're not thinking like 5 years. Do you want to be doing coaching calls every single day or selling, retail products or marketing your tech thing for years and years and years and doing live videos here and managing a team? And maybe the answer is yes, but maybe the answer is no. The difference is at 6 figures, you're not really thinking about those things. Look, it's my favorite dude named Mo. So you're not really thinking about those sorts of things. Whereas 7-figure entrepreneurs or 7-figure people start to really think about their goals. Where do they want to go? Selling it, anything like that. They start to think a little bit more long term. Some other big differences that I noticed between 6 and 7-figure people is that 7-figure people, and I'm gonna generalize here, 7-figure people tend to be. They tend to, I'm not going to say have more like a philanthropic vision, but kind of like they kind of have a vision that's outside of themselves. Whereas at 6-figure, people tend to make a lot of excuses about why they're not donating or why they're not doing stuff. And I didn't go to the homeless shelter yesterday to volunteer because I'm busy, and I need to grow. And once I get, to 7 figures, I'll like relax more. Or they're like, well, I'm making better money, but it's just not enough, right? I need to save it, and then when I get to a certain spot, I'll start giving. And 7-figure people really start thinking about their legacy and start thinking about how what they're doing is impacting the world on a grander scale. And so it becomes less about like, how can I make, go from $5 to $10 million because I want a better house. It's like, how can I go from $5 to $10 million? Because with that comes power, influence. I've now helped more people who can then go out and help more people. I can donate more, have more freedom to do things that really matter to me. And it's just like a very small shift that you notice progressively as people start to make more and more. And I'm generalizing because there's some 7-figure assholes out there for sure. But generally speaking, they start to really think more about their legacy and their influence and the difference that they're making in the world. I also want to give some examples of 7-figure problems that 6-figure people don't know about. I'm drinking this coffee, by the way, and I know you guys don't give a shit, but someone told me I'm on this like new thing because I got a lot of feedback about like my videos, and people are like, Juliet, you should slow down. So anyways, I'm slowing down to drink my coffee. I don't know why I'm opening it up. So I'm going to give you guys some examples of 7-figure problems versus 6-figure problems as well. 7-figure problems, you are so completely different. 6-figure problems, where's my next client going to come from? How am I going to scale? How am I going to afford my ad spend? My ads aren't 100% profitable. I don't have enough cash. I need more cash to be able to get to the next level, but I don't have the cash, and I don't have enough recurring revenue. I'm always having to front load. You're thinking about like, I don't have enough time because I have all these coaching calls or all this time spent in my store, like whatever your business is, or all this time spent in my gym or doing XYZ, whatever. You start to really think about those sorts of issues. 7-figure issues are more like, how do I show up every day as the best version of myself and motivate people that I'm paying, okay? Motivating people that I'm paying. It's a lot different. Oh, look, if it's not Rob with 2 B's, Quinn with 2 N's. So annoying. So you start to think about like, how can I It's one thing when someone pays you, right? And they pay you and you're like, okay, cool. You've now paid me 10 grand. I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to make you get the shit done. And if they don't do it, whatever, they paid you money. But what people forget is that you think that by paying someone else, that's motivation enough. And it's not. So at 7 figures, you start to think about, like, how can I motivate this group of people that I'm paying money, because that's not enough to keep them motivated. That's not enough for them to, like, want to do a good job and succeed and show up, right? You start thinking about, how can I motivate these kind of complete strangers if they're new to your team, but over time, still, like, these people I might not know super well outside of just monetary stuff, to produce the best results possible. Because you're no longer really thinking about, like, where's the next client going to come from? You know where the next client's going to come from, but it's more like, how are we going to service that next client? How are we going to make sure that next client feels happy and secure and gets great results? And so some problems that you start thinking about really surround, like, your leadership. You also start, a second problem that you start to think about when you're at 7 figures is, like, how can I detach myself from the business where if I stopped putting out content or if I took a break, it still can bring in cash? And that's not something that 6-figure people think about. That's Marcel. That's not something 6-figure people think about. 6-figure people are not out there, like, sitting around thinking about, like, I'd like to take 2 months off. How can I make cash? They're like, I'm just going to grind and hustle. Some of them don't, because they live in fucking fairyland. But that's okay. 6-figure people, they're not tend to, and again, I'm generalizing in this video. Someone's going to get their feelings hurt. But 6-figure people tend to just not really worry about how the business is going to make money without them. They're happy being tied to it. They want it to be tied to them because of, like, ego things and a bunch of different aspects, right? Whereas 7-figure people are like, you know what? I've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. Sometimes it takes 20 years to get to 7 figures or whatever else. That's a lot of the companies that I work with, you guys, is people that have been doing it for like 10 years and they're making 7 figures, but they come to me and they're like, look, I'm ready for an out. I want my exit strategy. And so 7-figure people really start to think more about how can the business make money without me? How can I brand this thing as a whole? How can I make this a movement and it kind of detach from me? And it's a big ego shift that you have to make, and it takes a very long time for that to really come into place, where you're shifting from, like, I want this to be all about me, I'm the brand, me, to being like, no, it's my team that's doing this, it's our company name, and being very secure in that. Other 7-figure problems that you start to think about, like, you definitely start to think about more your long-term financial strategy. Now, this is something that I had to be careful because I'm not a financial expert or advisor, so please consult your own accountant and financial advisor. If you need one, I have a reference. But you start to think about your long-term financial future. For example, I just landed 4 deals back-to-back over the last, like, 4 weeks, most of which are going to pay out all of them are going to pay out at least 6 figures, 2 of which are probably going to pay out 7 figures per year per deal. So, like, 1 deal, and I'm not talking contracts, I'm talking cash. So you start to look at that and you're like, that's fucking amazing, but what the fuck am I going to do with all this money? What are we going to do? Like, what is the company's long-term goal? And of course you have options. You can take that money, you can invest it into real estate. You can do what we're doing, which is acquire companies as part of it, right? So we're, like, literally buying up companies and combining it with ours, as well as doing our own investment strategies. But you really start to think about, like, what are you going to do with all this cash, and also start to think about your tax liabilities, right? You're like, how can I don't fucking want to pay 60% of my taxes or in my income in taxes. So what can I do with all this cash? You really start to think about more complex issues with your money when you obviously grow a little bit more. And again, 7-figure people, 8-figure people that have been just get a little bit higher level, I think they really start to think about their exit strategy more. 6-figure people aren't really worried about, like, I'm going to do this, and then in 5 to 10 years I'm going to retire. I mean, they kind of have a general idea, but 7-figure people, they're actively pursuing an exit plan, or they're actively pursuing some sort of exit or some sort of conclusion. They're not just kind of like, in 5 to 10 years, when I make this much money, I'm going to retire. They're like, look, in 5 years, exactly, I'm going to retire. This is exactly how much money I want, and this is exactly what I need to do to get there. So they're actively pursuing a conclusion to what they're doing. And I'm sharing all this stuff about the different qualities of seven-figure people and the different problems of seven-figure companies for two reasons. Number one, a lot of you guys are making six figures and you want to get to seven figures. And I do believe that there are some shifts that you have to make mentally in order to get there. And the first and foremost one I would say is the ego. Once you start making a little bit of money, you start to be like, I got this, I fucking nailed it, I'm amazing, I'm smart, things like that, right? So you start to get a little bit of an ego, and you have to really shift that. The other shift that ties right along with that is a six-figure to seven-figure shift. The biggest one that I had to make, and the biggest one I see other people make, is like really start to think about the longevity or the long-term future of your business. Like I think a lot of six-figure people are not realistic about their 1 year, 2 year, 3 year goals. Not financial, but I'm talking like, are you sure in 3 years, after 3 years, you're still going to want to be doing all this? Like the exact same day-to-day stuff? Probably not. Like chances are in 3 years, maybe you get married, maybe you have a kid, maybe your kid gets old and goes to college, maybe you want to retire, maybe you fucking want to travel the world. But chances are in 3 years, you do not want to be doing the exact same day-to-day stuff that you're doing now. Maybe probably not even in 1 year, right? And so I think the biggest shift that you have to make to go from 6 to 7 figures mentally is to really start thinking long-term and then reverse engineer it. Like, is the decision that I'm making to go live every single day now going to set me up for my goal of in 6 months to take a vacation? Probably not, right? And what ends up happening is that six-figure people get into the scarcity, fear, it's not coming, where's my next client going to come from? I'm going to run a promotion and I'm going to sell this guidebook. I didn't do that for cash, but or I'm gonna fucking discount my course, or I'm gonna do a challenge or whatever, because they get into this fear mode of like, where's my next client going to come from? And they just do crazy promotions without thinking it through, and before they know it, they're doing a promotion every other week and a challenge every other day, and just like shit all over the place, and without realizing that the only reason they're making money is because they're like running around with like a chicken with their head cut off, and that's not sustainable long term. And that's the thing with six-figure people, is they start to really get caught up in the fear and the scarcity and the where's my next client going to come from, and I just want to scale really fast, and I just want to have good looking numbers and things like that. But the biggest shift you have to make, I mean, by far the hardest thing that I ever had to accomplish was like to sit down and be like, I want to be here. Like, this is what I want my life to look like. And obviously that sort of changed. If you guys watched my video from last week about who is Juliet, then you know about my personal life. So my goals have definitely changed and shortened. But I had goals, and I was like, this is what I want my life to look like. This is what I want, not just my personal, but like my business life. This is what I want. And I had to definitely shift my strategy. For example, one of the things I always wanted, for whatever reason, was to have an office with employees. I don't know why. I just always wanted that. Some people don't. I always, since I was like adopted, I was like, I want an office with employees, and I want like a huge team and a huge office. And either one of two things. I want like a big empty warehouse of an office that we like deck out and make it like the next Google type office, or I want like the top floor and we buy out the entire floor and it's just my company up there, like kind of like the movie Suits or the TV show Suits. And that's been my vision since I was younger. And what I realized was I started to build a business that only really relied on me. I was the only one that could market it. I was the only one that could do the sales calls. I was the only one who could be the voiceover on the products. I was everything in this business. And I was like, this isn't my goal. My goal is to have this much money in office and employees. And I'm like, running this coaching program isn't really getting me there. And sure, you can hire salespeople and a few VAs, but that's not what I mean. I mean, I wanted like a team. And I also knew, I was like, look, I never really, I wanted to be coaching, but I really wanted to be working on projects. I wanted like Google to call me one day and be like, hey, we're launching new contact lenses that record things and we need your help, right? And they would hire us. We wanted fucking like major companies like Xerox to come in and be like, look, Juliet, we want to sell, and we need help with profitability before we can sell it, or things like that. In addition to coaching, right? So I knew that this is what I wanted my life to look like, and I looked at my actions that I was doing every day, and I was like, I'm doing a live video every day. I'm doing coaching calls every day. I'm fucking busting balls, sales calls, doing everything, all of the stuff. And I'm like, there's no way that this is going to create my dream life. It might create some decent revenue, but it's not going to create the life that I want. So anyways, back to the original point. Not about me, about you guys. The biggest shift that six-figure people, I see them make, is kind of start to think more long-term and more outside of themselves and ditch the ego altogether. The longevity of your business, the future of it is so important to think about because before you know it, you're going to get to a place where you're going to have to make a decision quick. And you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. Also, the second reason why I did this video was because a lot of you guys are trying to attract seven-figure people into your market. I know, because you're in my inbox pitching me. Look, I love to get pitched. I love it. I love it. Pitch me everything that you have to offer because I love to spend money. I love when I need help. I love it when I'm like, I fucking need this, and then someone hits me with a pitch. I love it. But please keep in mind that the pain that I feel as now an 8-figure business owner is a lot different than what I felt when I was 6 figures. So the language that you're going to use to talk to someone like me, and I'll film a whole separate video about this. This is kind of like an entry video into this deeper topic, which I'll do later this week. But I just want to kind of like plant the seed in you guys' brain that the information and the words and the vocabulary and the pain points that you pull on for me is not the same as everybody else. I don't have the same like fear. I don't make decisions out of fear, right? I'm not like, oh my God, where's my next client going to come from? So you hit me with some fear-based, Juliet, have you thought about where your next client's going to come from and blah, blah? You can't hit me with some fear-based shit like that. My pain points are just different. Like, it's my team. It's our cash flow. It's our ability to produce quality results and grow at the same speed that we have been growing at. It's how can I get this company to make as much money as possible without me being responsible for it. Those would be some examples of my pain points. Happy to put those out online because I'm happy to hear you guys' pitches as solutions. But that said, you know, a lot of you guys want to attract these 7 and even 8-figure companies, and you need to remember that 8-figure people don't think the same way as 6-figure people. My pain points are not the same as a 6-figure person, so don't talk to me as if I am the same, right? And that's just kind of like a pro tip, and this is my entry into telling you guys all of that stuff. So hopefully this was helpful if you guys are trying to target 7-figure people. And if you're not trying to target 7 and 8-figure people, hopefully this video was helpful just to kind of give you some insight into some shifts that you may be needing to make in order to get where you want to be. So with all of that said, I appreciate you guys being on today's live video. I am going to be dropping a really cool guide PDF. It's going to be totally free inside of my group, probably next week. So remember a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, I dropped the like 30-page report on the biggest changes coming to the consulting and coaching space, and we ran like a 1,500-person study. Well, I'm going to be doing not the same topic at all, but a similar guidebook like that. It's going to be like 30 pages, tons of information, totally free inside my Facebook group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link for the Facebook group in the comments, and I'll also drop it here on Instagram as well, so you guys can join the Facebook group. And when I drop the PDF next week, you guys can get it in there for free. So that's my gift to you guys, and it's going to be all about how we built a brand from the ground up and then sold that company for $10 million. Like literally the company didn't come to us with like branding and a name and colors and anything. Like we built a whole brand from the color scheme to the personality, everything from the ground up, and was able to help them sell their company for $10 million. And that's what the PDF is all about. It's like a story. It's like a sexy story filled with numbers and sex appeal. So get in the Facebook group and check that guy out. Check that guy out. But check the guide out next week. But otherwise, I'll see you guys later.